I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
NBA free agency is now over. The NBA Summer League will be wrapping up very shortly. So now we are starting to arrive into the dead part of the NBA season. There's no news, no games, there is really nothing happening in the world's top basketball league. The only thing that could spark an interest or two are some trades, and by the looks of things, there is a chance that multiple blockbuster deals could go down late this summer and in early autumn before the NBA season starts, which would just shake up the league even more than it already has been this off-season. In today's video, I'll be looking at 4 potential blockbuster deals that have a high chance of happening before next season. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content. But with that being said, let's get right into this top 4. Number 4. Bradley Beal to the Miami Heat for Kelly Olynyk, Justice Winslow and Bam Adebayo, as well as some draft picks. The first player I have on this list is Bradley Beal, and the reason he is so far down on the list is because as of right now, the Wizards look to keep him. Even though he's been involved in thousands of rumors by now, and the chance of him being moved is quite high, the Wizards just don't want to pull the trigger yet. But I think by the end of the off-season, the Wizards will realize it's time to start over, and the first move they will make will be trading Bradley Beal. Interest from contenders will be high, which is why I have him going to the Miami Heat. After signing and trading for Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat are in desperate need of a second star to pair with Jimmy Buckets so they can become a real threat in the East, and Bradley Beal would do just that. The backcourt duo of the two would be absolutely lethal and would be arguably the best in the Eastern Conference. It would give Miami that second star they need, so I don't see why they wouldn't want to pull the trigger instantly on this deal. For the Wizards, they finally get to start their rebuild with this move. They are barely a playoff team with Beal and Wall, so a restart is necessary. With the recent draft selection of Rui Hachimura, the Wizards can add to their young talent with Justice Winslow and Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo gets the opportunity to thrive he's been needing. Kelly Olynyk can be a good mentor for the young guys, but he'd also be a valuable role player for the Wizards, potentially even becoming a solid starter. And last but not least, Washington would acquire Justice Winslow. Over his first few seasons in the NBA, Winslow has been getting closer and closer to reaching an all-star level, and who knows, maybe a starting role in a new place will do just that. I have high hopes for Winslow, and his potential alone should be enough for the Wizards to say yes to the deal. Again, I think this is a great deal for both sides, particularly the Wizards. The Heat do lose a lot of depth with this move, but I think it will pay off, and the Wizards get loaded for their rebuild, which they need to start as soon as possible. The only question is right now, will the Wizards actually trade Beal? Because unfortunately right now, they seem to be quite against the idea. Number 3. Kyle Lowry to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Andrew Wiggins and Josh Okogie. After having the best season of his career for the Toronto Raptors, Lowry's trade value is at its peak, and seeing as the Raptors lost Kawhi, it might be time to rebuild, or at the very least, retool. Kyle Lowry doesn't fit in the timeline of the Raptors, and I think it would be best for the two to move on from each other. As I stated, he's at his peak value, so if he was to be traded, it would be before the 2020 season started. In this deal, the Raptors move an aging star and get Wiggins. Though Wiggins has been a lot worse to start his NBA career than thought, a lot of people are calling him a bust even, he still has potential, and if I'm a Raptors team looking to retool and get a bit younger, this is a good pickup. Also, Josh Okogie could be a good backup center and learn from guys like Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. This team wouldn't be immediate contenders, but it'd be a pretty good young core to have. The only problem would be lack of depth at the guard positions, so they need to make other moves after this because I don't exactly trust Van Vliet as a starter. But other than that, I like the move. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, this could be the move that gets them over the line. After seasons of disappointment continuing, it's clear Karl-Anthony Towns needs more help than just Wiggins. Wiggins has been far from impactful, and Towns has done everything to try get this Minnesota team a playoff spot, but it unfortunately has not been enough. This is why I like Kyle Lowry. Not only will Lowry bring the veteran skill the Wolves lack, he brings leadership too. No, not Jimmy Butler type leadership, more of the on-floor guidance that Cat arguably needs. If the Wolves do scrape into the playoffs with the core of Towns, Lowry and Covington, plus Jeff Teague too, Lowry's experience will be crucial in them potentially upsetting the more competitive teams in the Western Conference. This trade is pretty decent in my books. It helps the Raptors start their retooling process and allow the Wolves to remove Wiggins. He was doing nothing for them. They get Lowry, a playoff vet, who can lead and be a role model for a young superstar, Karl-Anthony Towns. I see both teams benefiting from this deal. We'll just have to wait and see whether it goes down or not. Number 2. Steven Adams to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kevin Love. After the Paul George trade, the Oklahoma City Thunder have been left scrambling. They are now in a really tough situation where they are looking to trade off their other stars. And one of them is Steven Adams, and he gets moved in this deal for Kevin Love. I think there's actually a chance that OKC keep Russell Westbrook. I have a feeling that they're maybe not ready to rebuild yet. They would need to pair up Russ with another star, and no matter how good you think Steven Adams is, he's never been an all-star before, so they need to trade him for a star player. Adams is the one that will most likely go because he has the most value on the Thunder's roster other than Westbrook. So I suggest the Thunder trade for Kevin Love. Instead of losing Westbrook, the Thunder could gain Kevin Love and add him to their team. Kevin Love doesn't fit in Cleveland's timeline, and moving him would be perfect for Cleveland. They clearly don't need him in their rebuilding process, so why waste what's left of his prime? Him and Westbrook have chemistry from their UCLA college days. They'd become another dynamic duo that we can see all across the league now, and that could be a real problem for other teams. For Cleveland, they stay young, and in their rebuild, Adams won't make so much impact that they start winning. Steven Adams plays with all his heart the entire game. He never looks disinterested. He's a team player too. He doesn't care about the touches, so long as he helps his team succeed. That's all that matters to him. So I think he'd be perfect for Cleveland. The rookie guards can do their thing, and Adams can bring that rebounding energy, hustle, and effort that not many centers in the league have. I personally love the idea of this trade. I honestly don't want Westbrook to leave OKC, and this way, he doesn't. But this trade really will be dependent on what Sam Presti wants to do with the future of his organization. And that now leads me on to number 1. Number 1. Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets for Chris Paul and Trayvon Duval plus draft picks. The final trade on my list involves the other plan for OKC. If they do wish to part ways with their 12-year servant in Russell Westbrook, this is the trade I think will happen. The Rockets have disappointed the last few seasons, as they have tried extremely hard to compete with the Warriors dynasty, but failed each and every year. I wouldn't say it's time to blow things up, but it's definitely time to move on from some of the players on their current roster. So, why should the trade of Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets for Chris Paul, Duval and draft picks happen? OKC get Chris Paul, who's a great veteran player, and whilst he's overpaid, he's a valuable asset on any team. Unfortunately, things just couldn't work out in Houston. Him and Harden clearly clashed playstyles. He'd be a fantastic role model and mentor for young guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was a brilliant pickup by OKC in the Clippers deal. He can also lead other young guys on the squad, like Terrence Ferguson, and he might just be enough to boost Dennis Schroeder into becoming an all-star. Also, the pickups of young player Trayvon Duval gets the team younger, and you can't go wrong with a couple of draft picks. Overall, this deal would be extremely solid for the Thunder. It's going to be very hard to move Westbrook's contract, and I'm sure the Rockets will be willing to take it on to reunite an old duo. Some might say that taking on Paul's contract is bad, it's not worth it, but if the Thunder kept Westbrook, they'd be paying him the same contract, and considering they want to tank, is it that big of a loss? They want to rebuild, and an old Chris Paul will help them speed up the losing more than keeping Westbrook would. This would be a brilliant pickup for the Rockets in my opinion too. Westbrook is a huge upgrade over Chris Paul. CP3 doesn't fit in the Rockets' slow ISO system, he's old, and Westbrook would actually be a pretty good fit in the Rockets system in my opinion. Though both contracts for Russ and Paul are bad ones, Westbrook is younger and fits the timeline of Houston better. Also, Harden and Russ both have built up chemistry already from their stint in Oklahoma, where they made a finals run, so who knows how far they could go together as bona fide stars. The West is wide open right now. There is no super team in the way of the Rockets, so this may be their last chance to make a finals run. The depth on the Rockets isn't great, but you could argue that a starting lineup of Westbrook, Harden, PJ Tucker, Gerald Green and Clint Capella could rival the Lakers or Clippers. I'm not saying the Rockets would be better than them with Russ, but they'd certainly be on a higher level than many of the other teams in the competition. Overall though, I'd love to see this trade go down. I personally believe it benefits both sides and could make the Rockets title contenders for a few more years. The NBA is wide open right now, and the duo of Westbrook and Harden would just add to the many dynamic ones we see today. There are a couple of other offers the Rockets could have made for Westbrook, maybe something like Capella and Gordon for Russ, but I just can't see CP3 working out with Harden and Russ, so he'd have to be in the deal. That is just my thoughts though. But that will conclude the top 4. What are your thoughts on this list? Do you think these trades will happen or not? Do you have any other ones to add in here? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.